apply our business brains to an idea that I had this past weekend about our show. Like the idea is, could this be a recurring segment on the show? So bear that in mind. And you may help me decide, Dave, that's insane. No way. And I'm fine with that answer. But
all right.
I was with my wife. We wound up picking up a foster puppy on Sunday, and this was on Saturday night when I had this idea. But I knew that we were going to go pick up this puppy. We'd gone and visited it, and it's fine. And she works with this shelter. She works with a couple different shelters, and occasionally we'll foster, until until a pet gets adopted, right? And they're always like. She started telling me, she's like, well, just know that when we go to the shelter tomorrow, it's like, it kind of looks like a dump. Like they don't have a huge budget. I'm like, of course. Like, no, I got that. No problem. But I started thinking, I'm like, here's this thing, because here's us, right? We are fairly financially solvent, let's say.
Yes.
And we're empty nesters. We have room in the house for another dog, but we're like really hesitant to add another dog to the house because every time we travel, it's an added burden
of either dynamic.
It's a whole different thing.
We have 2 dogs. It's definitely a different dynamic.
Yep. And it's like, I don't know. But like 98% of the time, we'd be totally fine having another dog around, right? But then there's also there's vet costs and there's this, that, and the other thing. And so I started thinking about the animal shelters and the business model of the animal shelter. And I don't want to say it needs to be fixed, but maybe it can be evolved, because here's all of these people that are involved with the shelter. There's some that actually work there. Then there's this like core of volunteers that donate some amount of their time. And then there's also people that donate money to the shelter. And some of them are also volunteers and some of them not so much. And, there's a whole little, but there's a community around each shelter. And the thing is, like, we're people that donate some money, more time than money, generally speaking. And we want to help these dogs, but we don't want to take full responsibility for one of these dogs.
Okay.
And so what if the model was, instead of because right now, if you go and adopt a dog from that shelter or most shelters, they say thank you, but then they kind of also say screw you. They don't feel that way, but that's it's like, this is your fault now.
Yeah. Okay,
right? You're on your own. Right. Yeah, exactly. So what if instead of the screw you model, and I realize I'm hyperbolizing a little bit. The shelters don't actually feel that way. They're very thankful that you. But instead of that model, what if we had it takes a village model, right? Where there was a community of people, and when you adopt a dog from the shelter, it's still. And I don't know that this is I don't have the full idea here. I just have this concept. And maybe it's when you adopt a dog, you're still part of the shelter community, and so is your dog. And let's say you also were, part of this same shelter community. But the deal is, you adopt this dog. If you need to go on vacation, come to us, and we'll place it with someone. Now, it might just be that my dog goes to your house, Shannon, right?
Yeah.
And people do this unofficially with like friends and stuff. But I feel like with a shelter at the center being the gravity and the ultimate responsible party for it, that would take the stress off of people. And there would be actually, in the end, more people being involved because they'd feel comfortable knowing that the shelter was there to have their back, right? And maybe you even pay a little bit like dues or something.
Well, I was thinking, why could the shelter open a dog daycare type thing?
They could do that.
They could make some money. And
you wouldn't even need to do that if you had enough people in the system, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm going to go away. Okay, great. We'll coordinate that your dog is going to go to Shannon's house or Timmy's house or wherever. Okay, great. No problem. Sometimes, we can't go to Shannon's or Timmy's or anybody else's, so it's going to have to be boarded here for the week that you're away. But at least they've got you kind of covered. And the same could be done again with the shelter as sort of the central figure coordinating like large vet bills, things like that.
You want to get in the pet business on this show? Is that what you're doing?
No, what I want to get into is the business of looking at a business model and collective, because this is just like a starter idea. There's, I just threw out like 10 facets of this idea. I bet 9 of them, if we analyzed them, we'd throw away, right? But there's something here to evolve this business and actually like help solve the problem that they are solving in an even more robust way. And so is that something we could do here on this show? Maybe, once every 2 weeks, we do 4 segments a week, the 2 segments per episode. And so out of maybe 1 out of every 8 segments, we apply to whatever the, topic do month is or whatever the current topic is.
I like it.
And we bring in some experts. We bring in people from, if we were going to use this model, we'd bring in people from the animal shelter business, get their thoughts on it, because this is going to not land well, but like there are businesses out there. And I think animal shelters are a good example of this, that don't have the, they don't have the funds to go and hire
they don't have an
a
advisor
management consultant or an
whatever.
advisor. Right. And generally the advisors are like, let's help the dogs. Like that's what the people are focused on. And that's great. But
my take on it would be, it's kind of like our business therapy, that we call it. Like where Dave and I, before we connect, we'll wind up talking like half hour, 45 minutes, trying to help each other solve problems that we have. That usually we don't air that stuff, but sometimes we do.
Yes.
But what if we did does your business or do you need some business therapy? And they could email in or send us a DM and we could.
But I feel like we've offered that before.
We have. The question
I think
is,
we need to seed the topic. We need to pick the topic and then go tell people where I don't know. I think like that was my thought. Was like, I love this.
I would love if you
I think we need
those,
to force feed people a little bit.
The concept of having people come on to talk about that, that's a challenge in my view of making it, because time-wise, managing the people, doing those things, it's work, right? Not that not that I don't mind working, but the one thing I love about this show is I just kind of walk on and start doing it, right?
Right.
And I love.
But I would love to 10x the audience for this show.
I would,
and
too.
I think this might be a path to doing that.
I think it's great
because we'll wind up getting PR out of it.
Yes.
I mean, the goal would be to help a business model, right?
Yes.
Or a specific business, but hopefully something that the people listening could then apply to their similar, business or whatever. So I don't know.
I think it's a great idea. We have to let's fine tune it.
Yes, of course,
and come up with it. But I love that. I love trying new things, keeping things fresh. I think it's awesome. Let's figure it out.